Every weekday before sunrise, Sarah Mitchell unlocked the classroom door long before her students arrived. She carefully arranged lesson plans, graded assignments, and prepared another day of teaching. Few realized that while shaping young minds during the day, she was quietly building a completely different future after school. Sarah loved teaching because it gave purpose beyond a paycheck. Watching struggling students gain confidence brought genuine happiness. Yet, despite years of dedication, rising living costs made saving difficult. She wondered whether financial freedom would always remain just another lesson she encouraged others to believe, never herself. Each month followed the same routine. Her salary covered rent, groceries, transportation, student supplies, and basic expenses. After paying every bill, only a small amount remained. Instead of feeling defeated, Sarah carefully tracked every dollar inside a notebook, believing small habits eventually produced extraordinary outcomes through consistency. One afternoon, while supervising the school library, Sarah discovered a book about ordinary people building wealth through rental properties. The stories described teachers, nurses, firefighters, and office workers becoming investors over many years. She checked out the book, curious whether someone with her modest income could truly succeed. That evening, Sarah sat at her tiny apartment kitchen table, reading page after page. The authors emphasized patience instead of quick riches, cash flow instead of speculation, and disciplined investing instead of gambling. Before sleeping, she opened her notebook and wrote one simple sentence: "Own my first rental property." Rather than dreaming about becoming rich overnight, Sarah built a realistic plan. She created a monthly budget, reduced unnecessary spending, prepared lunches at home, canceled unused subscriptions, and dedicated every extra dollar toward a future down payment. Progress felt slow, but every small victory strengthened her confidence each month. During weekends, Sarah attended free real estate seminars, listened carefully to experienced investors, and filled pages of notes inside her notebook. While many attendees searched for shortcuts, she focused on learning fundamentals. Every lesson deepened her understanding that wealth came from education, discipline, and long-term decision-making, not luck. After school, Sarah often drove through neighborhoods studying rental homes instead of shopping or dining out. She compared property prices, school districts, maintenance conditions, and rental demand. Friends considered it an unusual hobby, but Sarah viewed every neighborhood as another classroom, teaching valuable investment lessons through careful observation. Nearly 3 years passed before Sarah finally reached her savings goal. Her notebook contained hundreds of budgeting entries, investment calculations, and encouraging reminders. Looking at those pages, she realized success wasn't measured by speed. It was measured by refusing to quit despite slow progress and countless ordinary days together. Standing outside a modest duplex one bright spring morning, Sarah quietly imagined families living inside while the rental income gradually built her future. She wasn't searching for luxury or instant wealth. She simply wanted one property that could begin changing her financial story, one disciplined decision at a time. Sarah scheduled her first property tour after school. She walked slowly through the duplex with a notebook, carefully inspecting the roof, plumbing, flooring, windows, and electrical systems. Instead of imagining decorations, she calculated renovation costs, future rental income, and long-term potential before making any emotional decision whatsoever. The numbers didn't work. Renovation expenses exceeded her budget, and projected rental income couldn't justify the investment. Although disappointed, Sarah thanked the agent and walked away. She reminded herself that successful investors didn't buy every property. They waited patiently for the right opportunity to appear instead. Over the following months, Sarah visited dozens of houses across different neighborhoods. Some were overpriced, others required major repairs, and several lacked strong rental demand. Each rejection strengthened her judgment. Every property became another lesson, improving the skills no classroom had ever taught her before. One Saturday morning, Sarah discovered a well-maintained duplex listed below market value. Located near excellent schools and public transportation, the property attracted stable, long-term tenants. She carefully reviewed every financial detail twice before calling her real estate agent, with quiet confidence and genuine excitement about its potential. Meeting with her lender felt intimidating at first. Sarah presented organized financial records, years of savings statements, teaching income, and a detailed investment plan. The loan officer appreciated her preparation and approved financing. Walking outside afterward, Sarah smiled, knowing preparation had created another opportunity instead of luck. Closing day arrived with little celebration, but enormous significance. Sarah signed the paperwork, accepted the brass keys, and paused outside the building for a quiet moment of gratitude. Years of budgeting, studying, and sacrifice had finally become ownership. Her first rental property was officially hers at last. Every afternoon after teaching, Sarah drove directly to the duplex, carrying paint supplies, tools, and renovation materials. She painted walls, repaired cabinets, replaced worn fixtures, and cleaned every room herself. Sweat replaced comfort, but each improvement increased the property's value while reducing renovation costs significantly for future returns. Several weekends later, the duplex looked completely different. Fresh paint brightened every room, new flooring modernized the interior, and neatly maintained landscaping welcomed visitors. Sarah admired the transformation with satisfaction, knowing hard work, not expensive contractors, had created much of the property's renewed appeal and future value. Soon, prospective tenants began touring the renovated duplex. Sarah carefully interviewed applicants, verified employment, checked references, and selected a responsible family seeking long-term stability. Handing them the keys felt meaningful because she wasn't simply renting a property. She was providing someone with a comfortable place to call home. A few weeks later, Sarah opened her banking app and saw her very first rental payment deposited successfully. She smiled quietly at her kitchen table before writing one new goal beneath the first: buy the second property. The journey had only just begun, one disciplined decision after another. Sarah continued teaching with the same passion every weekday. Her students never suspected their teacher owned rental property. Between grading assignments, preparing lessons, and encouraging struggling learners, she quietly managed maintenance requests and rental finances during lunch breaks, proving ordinary routines could support extraordinary long-term ambitions through discipline. Instead of spending her rental income, Sarah reinvested every dollar. After paying expenses and setting aside maintenance reserves, the remaining cash flowed directly into her savings account for another down payment. Delayed gratification became her greatest financial advantage, allowing steady progress, while others chased immediate rewards instead. One evening, a tenant called about a leaking kitchen faucet. Rather than becoming frustrated, Sarah calmly drove to the property after school with basic plumbing tools. She repaired the problem herself, saving money while building stronger relationships with tenants who appreciated her prompt, professional response and genuine care. Sarah spent weekends studying market reports instead of scrolling through social media. She analyzed neighborhood growth, school ratings, employment trends, rental demand, and housing prices. Every statistic helped sharpen her investment decisions. She understood that successful investing depended on research, not emotion, speculation, or luck alone. Nearly 2 years after purchasing her first duplex, Sarah had accumulated enough savings and equity to begin searching again. Unlike before, experience replaced uncertainty. She now understood financing, renovations, tenant management, and property analysis far better than when her investment journey first began with one notebook. Sarah found another promising duplex in a quiet neighborhood with excellent schools and stable rental demand. She carefully reviewed inspection reports, estimated renovation costs, and projected long-term cash flow before making an offer. Everything aligned with her investment criteria, giving her confidence to move forward without hesitation. Closing on the second property felt different from the first. Fear had been replaced by preparation. Sarah signed the documents calmly, accepted another set of brass keys, and quietly celebrated another milestone. She knew every property represented years of future opportunity rather than immediate financial success or luxury. Managing 2 rental properties required better organization. Sarah created spreadsheets tracking maintenance schedules, mortgage payments, rental income, insurance, taxes, and emergency reserves. Every system simplified her growing business while allowing her to continue teaching full-time without sacrificing the quality of either responsibility or commitment. Friends often wondered why Sarah still drove an older car and lived modestly despite owning investment properties. She simply smiled and explained that every unnecessary expense delayed future freedom. Wealth, she believed, was built by owning appreciating assets, not by displaying expensive possessions for others to admire. Late one evening, Sarah opened her notebook and crossed out, "Own my second property." Beneath it, she carefully wrote a new goal: own 10 rental properties. Looking at those handwritten words, she realized every achievement began as a simple sentence, followed by consistent action every single day. Years passed, and Sarah's routines remained remarkably consistent. She still arrived at school before sunrise, prepared engaging lessons, and encouraged every student to believe in their potential. After classes ended, she transformed into a disciplined investor, reviewing rental reports, maintenance schedules, and future investment opportunities before heading home. Her rental income steadily increased with each passing year. Rather than upgrading her lifestyle, Sarah reinvested profits into mortgage payments, property improvements, and future acquisitions. Every financial decision reflected patience instead of impulse. She understood that lasting wealth grows quietly through consistency, not dramatic moments or flashy purchases. One of Sarah's former students recognized her while she inspected a rental property. Surprised to learn his teacher owned investment real estate, he asked how she accomplished it. Sarah smiled gently and replied, "Small disciplined choices repeated over many years can change an entire life." Every property taught Sarah another valuable lesson. One required unexpected roof repairs. Another experienced months without tenants. Instead of becoming discouraged, she treated every challenge as education. Experience gradually replaced uncertainty, making each future investment decision wiser, calmer, and more financially informed than the last one. Sarah attended advanced real estate conferences during school holidays. She listened carefully to experienced apartment investors discussing financing strategies, market cycles, and portfolio management. While others hurried between speakers, Sarah quietly filled another notebook with ideas she intended to apply patiently over the coming years instead. Eventually, Sarah purchased her first small apartment building. Standing outside with another set of brass keys, she felt grateful rather than overwhelmed. Years earlier, buying one duplex had seemed impossible. Now, disciplined preparation had expanded her opportunities far beyond what she once believed was achievable. Managing multiple properties required trusted professionals. Sarah hired reliable contractors, accountants, and a property manager who shared her values of honesty, quality, and respect. Building the right team allowed her investments to grow while ensuring tenants continued receiving excellent service and well-maintained homes throughout every neighborhood. Despite her growing portfolio, Sarah remained the same dedicated teacher. She still arrived early, stayed late helping struggling students, and purchased classroom supplies with her own money whenever necessary. Success never changed her character because financial freedom strengthened the values she had always lived by every day. One quiet evening, Sarah reviewed her financial statements and realized her rental income now exceeded her teaching salary. She paused thoughtfully before closing the notebook. Teaching had never been about money. It was her purpose. Real estate simply provided the freedom to continue teaching on her own terms. Walking through the empty school hallway after another rewarding day, Sarah smiled as sunlight streamed through classroom windows. Years of patient investing had created choices instead of pressure. For the first time, she understood that true wealth wasn't measured by money alone. It was measured by freedom and purpose. Sarah quietly celebrated another milestone as she acquired her 5th investment property. There were no parties, expensive dinners, or social media announcements. She simply filed the closing documents, placed another brass key inside her desk drawer, and returned to preparing tomorrow's lesson plans with the same steady dedication. One rainy afternoon, a fellow teacher mentioned struggling with rising expenses and mounting debt. Sarah listened carefully before sharing practical budgeting advice and encouraging her colleague to start investing, even with small amounts. The conversation reminded Sarah that financial education could change lives just as powerfully as classroom lessons. Sarah began reading books about apartment investing, commercial real estate, negotiation, and business leadership. Every evening became another opportunity to expand her knowledge. She believed that before managing larger investments, she first needed to become the kind of person capable of making wise, informed decisions consistently. A nationwide economic slowdown created uncertainty in the housing market. While many investors panicked, Sarah stayed patient. She reviewed cash reserves, reduced unnecessary spending, and waited for opportunities instead of reacting emotionally. Years of disciplined preparation allowed her to remain calm when others became fearful and uncertain. Months later, motivated sellers began offering quality properties below previous market prices. Sarah carefully analyzed each opportunity without rushing. Because she had maintained healthy savings and conservative finances, she could confidently purchase excellent investments while many others remained unable to secure financing during the uncertain economy. After acquiring another apartment building, Sarah walked through the renovated hallways greeting tenants warmly. She believed successful investing meant more than collecting rent. It meant creating safe, comfortable homes where families could build their own futures with dignity, stability, and peace of mind every single day. One evening, Sarah compared the first page of her notebook with the latest entries. The words, "Own my first rental property," were now followed by years of completed goals, financial milestones, and handwritten lessons. Every page represented persistence far more than talent or extraordinary intelligence alone. As her portfolio expanded, Sarah delegated routine management while continuing to oversee major decisions personally. She regularly reviewed maintenance reports, financial statements, occupancy rates, and renovation plans. Building systems, not simply buying properties, allowed her investments to grow efficiently without sacrificing quality or tenant satisfaction over time. Sarah occasionally wondered how different life might have been if she had ignored that library book years earlier. One simple decision to learn had completely redirected her future. She realized opportunities often arrive quietly, disguised as ordinary moments that many people overlook without recognizing their true potential. Late one evening, Sarah stood outside one of her apartment buildings, watching families return home after work. Children laughed across the courtyard, while porch lights illuminated the peaceful community. She smiled softly, understanding that her investments had created more than wealth. They had created places where lives could flourish. 10 years after buying her first duplex, Sarah reviewed her growing portfolio from a modest home office. Several rental homes and apartment buildings now generated reliable income. She felt grateful, not triumphant. Every achievement reflected thousands of ordinary decisions repeated faithfully over many years, rather than one extraordinary breakthrough alone. Despite increasing wealth, Sarah continued driving the same dependable sedan she had owned for years. Friends encouraged her to buy something luxurious, but she politely declined. Reliable transportation served its purpose perfectly. She preferred investing in appreciating assets instead of spending money on rapidly depreciating possessions every year. Sarah's classroom remained filled with energy, curiosity, and encouragement. Students admired her patience and kindness without realizing she had quietly become financially independent. She never mentioned her investments because she wanted every child to value education, integrity, and perseverance before material success or personal wealth. During summer vacation, Sarah attended a property management conference to improve her leadership skills. She studied tenant communication, maintenance planning, budgeting systems, and operational efficiency. Learning had always been part of her identity. Even after years of success, she believed education remained her greatest competitive advantage. A young real estate investor approached Sarah after the conference and asked for advice. She smiled warmly before replying, "Don't chase fast money. Build good habits first. The properties will eventually follow." Her simple words carried the weight of years spent practicing exactly what she preached. Sarah invested in renovating older apartment buildings rather than purchasing expensive luxury developments. She believed improving existing communities created lasting value for both residents and investors. Every completed renovation reflected careful planning, responsible stewardship, and a commitment to providing quality homes instead of maximizing short-term profits alone. One afternoon, Sarah received an offer to sell several properties for a substantial profit. She reviewed the proposal carefully before declining. The steady rental income and long-term appreciation aligned better with her goals. She remained committed to building lasting wealth instead of pursuing quick financial victories whenever possible. As her portfolio expanded, Sarah established a scholarship fund for graduating students pursuing education or business degrees. She never sought recognition. Helping young people begin their own journeys felt like the most meaningful return on every investment she had patiently built throughout the years of disciplined work. Walking through one of her apartment communities, Sarah greeted longtime tenants by name. They thanked her for maintaining safe, clean homes and responding quickly whenever problems arose. Their appreciation reminded her that successful investing wasn't measured only by profits, but also by the positive lives her work touched. That evening, Sarah opened her original notebook once again. The pages had become worn from years of use, but the message remained unchanged. Dreams became reality only after being supported by discipline, patience, and thousands of consistent actions carried out long after the initial excitement had faded. Nearly 15 years after purchasing her first duplex, Sarah reviewed a portfolio that had grown far beyond her earliest expectations. Rental homes, duplexes, and apartment buildings generated dependable income every month. Patient reinvestment had transformed a teacher's modest salary into a thriving real estate business built through consistency and discipline. Instead of investing in fashionable neighborhoods with inflated prices, Sarah focused on growing communities supported by strong schools, expanding employers, and stable rental demand. She believed successful investing depended on buying quality assets with lasting value, rather than following temporary market excitement or popular trends that quickly disappeared. Professional property managers now handled daily operations, while Sarah focused on long-term strategy. Weekly meetings covered occupancy rates, maintenance projects, renovation budgets, and tenant satisfaction. Strong systems kept every property operating efficiently, allowing her portfolio to grow without sacrificing quality or the trust residents placed in her management. Sarah completed the purchase of another apartment building after months of careful research, negotiation, and financial planning. Standing quietly outside with another set of brass keys, she felt the same gratitude she experienced years earlier. Every acquisition still represented responsibility, opportunity, and families depending on well-managed homes. During a meeting, Sarah's accountant presented updated financial statements showing her real estate portfolio had officially reached millionaire status. Sarah smiled appreciatively before returning to discussions about renovation schedules and maintenance reserves. Impressive numbers mattered less than protecting the quality of every property she owned for future generations. Walking through one apartment community, Sarah greeted children playing safely in landscaped courtyards while neighbors chatted comfortably outside. Clean pathways, healthy trees, and well-maintained buildings reflected years of careful stewardship. Watching families enjoy stable homes brought deeper satisfaction than any financial statement ever could provide to her. Banks now regularly invited Sarah to discuss larger commercial investment opportunities because of her exceptional financial record. Although access to financing had become easier, she continued evaluating every opportunity with patience. Greater resources never changed the disciplined investment principles that had guided her journey from the very beginning. A local newspaper requested an interview after learning about the teacher who quietly became a real estate millionaire. Sarah politely declined. She preferred spending her time improving properties, mentoring others, and teaching students, rather than seeking public attention for achievements built through years of quiet persistence and discipline. One peaceful evening, Sarah opened her worn notebook and reviewed every completed goal. Each page documented another lesson, another property, another challenge overcome. Looking back, she realized wealth had never arrived through one extraordinary decision. It had emerged from countless ordinary decisions made faithfully over many patient years. The next morning, Sarah unlocked her classroom door just as she always had. Students entered laughing, carrying backpacks and homework. To them, she remained simply their favorite teacher. Only Sarah understood that while educating young minds, she had quietly built a real estate fortune through unwavering discipline and patience. One afternoon, Sarah requested a personal day from the school principal. She simply explained she had important business to attend. Nobody suspected their respected teacher was preparing to finalize the purchase of another apartment building. To everyone else, it seemed like an ordinary day away from the classroom. Dressed in a classic navy blazer instead of her usual teaching attire, Sarah attended the closing with attorneys, lenders, brokers, and property managers. She signed the final documents with quiet confidence before accepting another set of brass keys. Years of preparation had transformed disciplined planning into another significant investment milestone. As Sarah exited the title office, she unexpectedly encountered the superintendent of her school district attending a nearby meeting. Seeing a classroom teacher surrounded by commercial real estate professionals and carrying property documents left him visibly surprised. The brief encounter would soon become an unforgettable conversation for both. Curious, the superintendent politely asked whether Sarah was assisting someone with paperwork. She smiled warmly before explaining she had just purchased another apartment building. Silence followed for several moments as he struggled to reconcile the dedicated teacher he knew with the accomplished investors standing before him that afternoon. Within days, the story quietly spread throughout the district. Teachers, administrators, and staff members were amazed to learn that Sarah had built a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio while continuing to teach full-time. Respect quickly replaced surprise as colleagues admired the discipline behind her remarkable journey toward financial independence. Many co-workers asked Sarah how she achieved such extraordinary success. Rather than discussing impressive numbers, she spoke about budgeting, continuous learning, patience, and disciplined investing. She reminded everyone that wealth rarely arrives suddenly. Instead, it grows through thousands of consistent decisions made over many ordinary years together. Several teachers admitted they had always assumed investing required an enormous salary or exceptional luck. Sarah gently disagreed. She explained that financial education, responsible spending, and long-term thinking often mattered more than income alone. Her practical advice inspired many co-workers to begin planning their own financial futures immediately. The school district invited Sarah to speak during a professional development event focused on financial wellness. Standing before fellow educators, she shared practical lessons about saving, investing, and building passive income. Her message resonated deeply because it came from someone who had quietly lived every principle she taught. After the presentation, younger teachers gathered around Sarah with notebooks filled with questions about rental properties, budgeting, and investing. She patiently answered each one, realizing that helping others gain confidence with money might become one of the most meaningful chapters of her journey beyond the classroom itself. The following Monday morning, Sarah stood once again before her students teaching mathematics with the same enthusiasm as always. Nothing about her classroom changed. She smiled, knowing true success wasn't measured by titles or wealth, but by remaining faithful to the values that created both purpose and freedom. Sarah realized her story could encourage people who believed financial freedom was impossible on an educator's salary. She began volunteering on weekends, hosting free workshops for teachers, nurses, and public servants. Her goal wasn't to create millionaires overnight. It was to help ordinary people believe disciplined investing could change their future. Every Saturday morning, a classroom transformed into a financial education workshop. Whiteboards displayed budgeting strategies, savings plans, rental property fundamentals, and long-term investing principles. Participants filled notebooks with ideas while Sarah explained complicated concepts using simple language, making financial education accessible to everyone, regardless of previous experience. One young teacher admitted she believed homeownership itself felt impossible, let alone investing in rental properties. Sarah quietly opened her worn notebook to the first handwritten goal: own my first rental property. The simple words reminded everyone that extraordinary journeys often begin with surprisingly ordinary first steps together. Sarah encouraged every participant to write one realistic financial goal before leaving the workshop. Some chose paying off debt, others planned emergency savings, while a few dreamed about buying rental properties. She explained that written goals create direction, while disciplined action transforms those goals into reality over time. Months later, a former workshop attendee proudly shared that she had eliminated her credit card debt and saved her first investment fund. Sarah celebrated the achievement sincerely, explaining that every meaningful financial victory deserves recognition, because confidence grows one disciplined milestone at a time through consistent effort and patience. Several years later, some of Sarah's earliest students from those workshops proudly invited her to visit their first rental properties. Walking through renovated homes together, Sarah felt immense gratitude. Watching others achieve financial independence brought greater satisfaction than purchasing another building ever could for her personally. During interviews, Sarah never described herself as exceptionally talented. Instead, she called herself an ordinary teacher who committed to extraordinary consistency. Her humility inspired audiences because they realized success wasn't reserved for gifted individuals. It belonged to those willing to remain patient when progress seemed almost invisible every day. At one workshop, Sarah placed two meaningful items on the table: her original classroom lesson planner and the brass key from her first duplex. She explained that neither represented separate lives. Together, they symbolized education, discipline, and the belief that teaching and investing could strengthen one another beautifully. Attendance at Sarah's workshops continued growing until community centers filled with aspiring investors seeking practical guidance. Rather than promising instant wealth, she consistently taught budgeting, financial literacy, patience, and responsible investing. Her message remained refreshingly simple, because timeless principles rarely require complicated explanations or dramatic promises to succeed. Walking home after another workshop, Sarah reflected on the lives she had witnessed changing. Helping others discover financial confidence brought deeper fulfillment than growing her own portfolio. She realized her greatest investment had never been real estate alone. It had been believing enough to help others believe in themselves. One quiet autumn morning, Sarah returned to the small apartment where she had lived when her journey began. Standing outside the familiar building, she smiled with gratitude. That modest home had never limited her future. Instead, it had become the place where disciplined dreams first took root and quietly grew. Back in her home office, Sarah carefully opened the same worn notebook she had carried for years. The first page still read, "Own my first rental property." Every completed goal beneath it represented thousands of ordinary decisions that eventually created an extraordinary life, built through patience and unwavering consistency. Old photographs covered her desk, late nights grading papers, weekends painting rental units, property closings, and classroom celebrations with students. Each picture reminded Sarah that success hadn't required sacrificing her purpose. Instead, teaching and investing had grown together, strengthening both her career and her financial future over many years. One afternoon, Sarah walked through several apartment communities she now owned. Children played safely, neighbors greeted one another warmly, and beautifully maintained buildings reflected years of responsible ownership. Seeing families enjoy stable homes reminded her that investing wasn't only about wealth, it was about creating lasting positive impact within communities everywhere. Financial reports confirmed that Sarah had officially become a real estate millionaire. She quietly closed the folder and shifted her attention toward renovation schedules, maintenance plans, and tenant improvements. Impressive numbers never became her motivation. Building well-managed communities remained far more meaningful than celebrating personal financial milestones alone. Driving home in her dependable older sedan, Sarah passed luxury dealerships and expensive sports cars without slowing down. She smiled softly, knowing financial freedom had given her something far more valuable than status. It had given her choices, peace of mind, and the ability to continue teaching because she loved it. On the final day of another successful school year, Sarah stood alone inside her quiet classroom after students had gone home. Sunlight streamed across empty desks while she reflected on decades of teaching. The classroom had shaped countless futures, including her own, in ways she never could have imagined before. That evening, Sarah placed her first classroom lesson planner beside the brass key from her first duplex inside a memory box. Together, the two simple objects represented purpose and freedom. One taught others how to succeed. The other proved disciplined action could transform ordinary dreams into extraordinary realities. Walking through the peaceful school campus beneath a golden sunrise, Sarah realized becoming a millionaire had never been her greatest accomplishment. Inspiring students, mentoring future investors, and serving her community meant far more. Wealth had simply given her greater opportunities to continue making a meaningful difference every single day. She taught lessons in the classroom while quietly building a real estate fortune. Her greatest investment wasn't property, it was discipline, education, and believing that small, consistent actions could transform an ordinary life into an extraordinary legacy.